Man, last night was good. It was good, even though it was two ugly damn teams. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it really was. But nonetheless, there's a lot to discuss about the football game. The Jets being the Jets, looks like the game's there for them to be had. And New England and Cam Newton. Cam Newton might have played his best game as a pocket quarterback with the New England Patriots to this point. And I know he had that game in Seattle, but it was pretty damn impressive what he did last night. They grinded it out and really, I mean, they almost had to play perfect to beat the Jets. Are we hearing that? Am I hearing that right? As I'm somebody in my mouth. New England had to almost play perfect to beat the New York Jets, who are the worst team we've ever seen in the history of the sport, or, in that discussion. But good for Cam Newton and the New England Patriots.
I don't know if you had your coffee earlier than usual today, or there are residual effects of some sort of medication you took last night that made you happier than usual. You sound like you were excited about the game last night.
It didn't bother me. It was good. I mean, I knew I wasn't looking at two Super Bowl champions, that's for sure. But I looked at, one team desperate. Adam Gase feel like he's looking, into the barrel of like, whoa, I might be fired if we mess this up. And I don't know what happens. I mean, that wasn't the best look for them altogether. But New England under a different kind of pressure, Cam Newton under a different kind of pressure, everything like that. I did enjoy the football game. I did. And, I think there's a lot of aspects to break down. Yeah, it wasn't pretty and beautiful, but it still delivered and was not bad for Monday Night Football. Why? You thought it was that bad? I mean, you
let's just paint with a broad brush. Give me your dominant overriding emotion as you were watching the 3 hours of football that played out last night.
My dominant overriding emotion was that somewhere in the second quarter, the New England Patriots realized that they're no longer the mystique of the New England Patriots and they're not a good team. I feel like it hit them during the game where they were like, whoa, all right, the Jets are, we're not playing bad and they're just beating us. Like, I that was the first thing I think that jumped out to me more than anything. And then just how hard it is for the New England Patriots to move the football. I think that would be the other thing. And how hard they have to work, and McDaniels and Belichick have to manage the game, and Cam Newton has to play. I mean, like we saw, other than not being a little aggressive in the first half, I think he let the Jets off the hook with some down the field completions and checked it down. I mean, he played really good, and there they were. He had to bring them back, down 10 points and the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, look, that was more specific than what I was hoping for. I had just a sense of resignation the whole time. Like, okay, it's Monday Night Football. It's
right
on TV. It's my job. There are far worse jobs. I don't take it for granted. But this is just one of those games where I don't even know that if when the schedule came out in April, you look at it and say, hey, that's a decent game, because it's still the Jets, right? It's a good rivalry, or it's had its moments. Nobody was really expecting anything this year. But, look, it was still entertaining. And it is weird. It's fascinating in a weird way to see the Patriots try to operate successfully when they're so much less than what they used to be. And you almost feel bad for them, and then you remind yourself, wait a minute, they're the Patriots.
Right.
They've got 6 Super Bowl trophies since 2001. I don't feel bad for them. Welcome to how it feels to be any other team in the NFL. You will have years where you stink. And I think the fact that we even pause, something's not right. It's not right to have football season with the Patriots kind of pedestrian. So I was just kind of in this weird,
I get it.
There's no consequence here. The Patriots are my preseason pick to get to the Super Bowl, and I don't abandon them until they're mathematically eliminated. But that team that played last night, even though they won, is not getting to the Super Bowl. Chris,
No.
Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, no, there's no way. I mean, right now, the way it looks, it'll be a miracle if they get into the playoffs. I mean, it's every game is going to be tough and close, as you could see. There's no Stephon Gilmore out there, but let's hit the defensive flaws. Continually through the game, I was texting you in the group. I mean, I know a few times where, hey, you see all these one-on-one balls. Joe Flacco looked great last night. Yeah, New England's got no choice. They got to put all their corners on an island every play. They got no talent in the front seven. Their best player, Lawrence Guy, he wasn't playing. I mean, they got nothing there. So Belichick, They got to find 9 million different ways to put people at the line of scrimmage, to scare away, Frank Gore and the Jets' run game and all of those things. I mean, so they got issues on that side of the ball, certainly. They need Stephon Gilmore, but there's no big talent. And then the offensive side of the ball, come on. I mean, what is there? There's not really an explosive running back. There's some solid running backs. There's no explosive wide receiver. I mean, there's no tight end at all, basically, in their game. It is Cam Newton having to drop back, be a man in the pocket, and throw lasers to guys that we've never heard of. I mean, that's really what New England is. And, for that's where I give Cam Newton a lot of credit. That was a pressure game for him. I mean, all the pressure was on the Patriots. They were supposed to win, even though they're not that much better than the New York Jets, as we saw last night. And Cam Newton, for where he is in his career, that was a really big game for him, too. And I think with all that was on the line and everything, Mike, and then the fact that they changed the offense, this was the first game we saw. They said, screw the Cam Newton shotgun with bills and whistles, guys going in speed motion and doing all that. They got into get underneath the center, drop back to pass. Here's a handoff, play action pass. It was really a traditional I formation offense, and he handled it well. But man, Mike, yeah, they're not talented.
I need to get a ruling from the control room as to whether or not you've expanded the Simsisms book by saying Bills and Wessels. You may have completed Bills and Wessels.
I know that one.
You started with Bills. I don't think you quite got out Wessels, but Bills and Wessels.
I know that one.
We're giving you a pass.
Okay.
Control room tells me you're getting a pass on that one. Here's Bill Belichick talking about how his quarterback performed in last night's victory.
Cam did a great job. He hung in there. He made some good reads and made some good adjustments, good checks. Jets great, did a good job like they always do. Put a lot of pressure in their defensive packages, and so Cam did a nice job with it.
God, the decisions some of these guys make for how they sit and how they position the camera. He's like popping his head out of a hole.
He doesn't care.
To the media. No, he never cares. Cam Newton was good last night. A couple of rushing touchdowns, 27 for 35, 274 passing yards. No touchdowns, but no picks, 99 passer rating. And Jacoby Myers, holy crap, targeted 14 times by Cam Newton, 12 catches, 169 yards. And, look, Cam has had a rough year. I believe that the COVID-19 diagnosis affected him in a variety of ways. One, the fact that he allowed himself to get it. The fact that he even could get it. So many of these guys think they're impervious to it. Remember, Odell Beckham Jr. kind of joked about it earlier this year. But I think a lot of those guys believe, I'm not catching it. It's not affecting me. And I think he's finally starting to maybe come out of it. They were concerned about his decision-making last night. Yeah. Good decisions. Not a lot, not the kind of head-scratching stuff that cost them games down the past month or so. And, he looked like the guy that I think the Panthers had hoped he would become. As you said, throwing from the pocket. At some point, you have to adjust your game if you want to play deep into your 30s. You can't run. Steve Young did that. Steve McNair did that.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers still moves a little bit, but not like he used to.
Exactly.
You got to operate from the pocket if you want to continue to play deep into your 30s, because at some point, all those guys you used to be faster than are now as fast, if not faster than you, and they hit you and they hurt you. So this is what we need to see more from Cam. And I think for Cam, it's about laying the foundation for next year.
Yeah.
Whether he's in New England or somewhere else, this is, for the balance of the season, his chance to get people to say, this is one of the guys we need to put near the top of the list as we evaluate quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. That's what I mean when he's fighting for his career. I mean, he's fighting to be a starter next year, whether that's New England or somewhere else, but just to be looked at in that way once again. There's a lot of things to bring up. You're right. I mean, with Cam Newton, hey, first thing is pocket passing. I don't really care who you are, whoever it is. I mean, we talk about Lamar Jackson. At some point, you're going to play some defense that's going to be able to contain your running. And in this league, you're going to have to make some throws within the general area of the pocket to beat people. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Cam Newton showed that last night. But I think the big thing, too, is, we're seeing a guy, and we heard through the telecast, and I think Brian Griese brought it up at one point, we're just talking about, and Cam then admitted it, talking about how, yeah, early in the year, he was running the offense and doing things and all of that, but he didn't really understand the offense. And for me, I'll take it like this. He understood his package of plays. He didn't really understand the language of the offense and how it was orchestrated. And I think that's what, that we were trying to get across in the telecast last night, too, that hurt his development. And he had to get further along in that area as far as, all the brain gymnastics and that New England offense. It's complicated. It really is. And I think that was some of the struggles. And that was the worst part about COVID-19, Mike.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Does the fact that he's starting to figure it out make him more likely to stick around? I think it's like, I've put in all this time. I've gone through these struggles. I'm starting to get it. Now next year will be even better, and I don't want to go somewhere else and have to do this crap all over again.
I think so, and I think if he can continue to crack away, you start to see the genius of the offense. They're an elementary New England offense. They're not running Tom Brady year 17, advanced geometry and just picking people apart. No, they don't have the players to do that. They're too young. They don't even know all the rules within that offense yet. So, yeah, I think that if he can continue to stay on this path, he'll start to realize, wait, they can fit an offense around me really well here. And, man, this offense, whoa, they deliver me some very easy completions and people open. So I do think that hopefully the foundation can be laid there from what we saw last night. Definitely. I mean, hey, what he did in the pocket, we saw it wasn't a ton of separation from any of the receivers. None of those receivers are threatening anybody deep down the field. Here, the sprite chart, you look at it. I mean, a lot of short passes. The deep passes are all around 15, 16, 20, 21, 25 yards is the farthest completion of the night. He played smart. I felt like he felt the pressure in the first half of the football game. I really do. And I know, Mike, at one time I thought I texted you. Maybe it was, the producers or whatever. But Griese mentioned it again to start the second half, and I wish he had showed the replay saying, Cam didn't push the ball in the first half and do any of that. And that was, again, we're watching it on TV, but there was a few plays where I went, oh, man, just stand there, the end zone cut. I mean, there's a guy open, blah, 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 and he checked it down. And to me, that was him, protecting himself, not wanting to make the big mistake, trying to run the offense to a degree. It was probably moving a little fast and crazy for him because it was different for him. But either way, he adjusted, and as you saw, in the biggest moments, he made some big-time throws to help them win the game.
One of the realities of learning an offense is the defense is going to try to create confusion and force you to make decisions. If you have been making mistakes, there's even more of a temptation to do that. He faced a blitz 60% of the time on his dropbacks. That's the second highest by a quarterback all season long in the entire league. And teams are blitzing the Patriots 44% of the time. Cam is the only quarterback facing the blitz more than 40% of the time. So if you're making mistakes, if you're learning an offense, that's the best way to disrupt you, because that's when your brain short circuits. If you don't know what to do and you have to make a quick decision, and here comes the blitz and accelerates your process, you're more likely to make a mistake. So, maybe after a game last night, do teams take a step back and say, maybe we shouldn't do this?
Yeah.
If he's now starting to figure out where his reads are and what he needs to do when he gets blitzed and he's eluding it and he's going to beat us, do you think that this influences teams to maybe back off after seeing what happened last night?
I think it might make them think twice a little bit, yes, but I don't think it's going to totally influence them because the blitz, it works. I mean, there's logic to why you do it against Cam Newton. The first thing is people blitz because they go, hey, let's get pressure on him. Yeah, okay, we're a little compromised in the back end, but none of these guys are scary. We can man them up and blitz, or we can blitz and play zone and be aggressive behind it. So there's that factor that emboldens teams to blitz. The other factor is, hey, let's try to clog up lanes so Cam can't run around and do something like that and shoot a gap and scramble for 15 or 20 yards. And he is known to sit there in the pocket at times for a long time. But I think with what we saw last night, him knowing where to go with the ball, didn't take any bad sacks that I can really remember where I went, ooh, that was stupid. He got the ball out of his hands in those situations. And, Yeah, that he was pretty on target throwing the ball the rest of the night. Yeah, I think that could scare teams to a degree. To a degree of like, all right, he knows where to go. He understands the protection. Why blitz here? Let's just double one of these receivers or take it away because there's not a lot of options here for him to go to anyways. But it's a good start for him.
What could scare a defense into not blitzing would be the development of a receiver who can consistently get separation or get open and provide that target. And we mentioned Jacoby Myers earlier with 12 catches and 169 yards. That's an impressive evening. Does that make him into a guy that becomes that favorite target, that guy who is the relief valve in the event of a blitz? It may have just been one game. It's hard to tell against the Jets defense because it's not like the Jets have a great defense. But the story on the Patriots for the past few years has been they don't have the receivers who can get separation and make it easier for a quarterback who's being blitzed, Chris, to say, hey, there's my guy who's running wide open. That's always the danger of the blitz. You're letting one guy be potentially wide-ass open, as Bruce Arians would say. And that doesn't happen with the Patriots.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, the one guy that they had that could be that to a degree, Julian Edelman, he's not there. I mean, he would be the go-to guy in a lot of those moments last night. Not that it would be, 50-yard bombs down the field, but a guy that understands route running and coverages and, it's a blitz, let me speed this process up so my quarterback can hit me, all those type of things. So they're, let's not forget that. They are missing him. They are missing Stephon Gilmore. That was a big part of their football team as well. I mean, he is the defensive MVP. That does hurt them. The trickle-down effect of matchups in the pass game. I have a hard time believing all those big pass plays happened for the Jets if Stephon Gilmore's out there last night. I do. But, again, I think the big thing with Cam Newton, the offense, we saw a transition to a more pro style. I think New England finally said, wait, we can't kill our quarterback and run him this much. And we just don't have enough players in offense to run, the bells and whistles Cam Newton offense that I was trying to say about before with the speed sweeps and people running everywhere. They don't have the people to even do that. So I think they just said, we got to get in the I formation, and McDaniels, you got to coach him up. And that's the approach they took. And then, they hung in there. And then the Jets did Jets things at the end to make sure the Patriots could win the game.
It's almost like the original West Coast offense, that slow, methodical, extended drives.
Yeah.
They didn't burn anybody over the top. And it's almost like you're protecting your defense by keeping them off the field, too. And when you look at what they did in the second half, that just consistent ability. Look at their last 5 drives.
Yeah.
They were all scoring drives. That goes a long way toward propping up a defense that gives up 27 points. And that's when you consider, I don't want to say Joe Flacco's washed up because he looked anything but washed up last night, but we would have thought going into the game that Joe Flacco's best days are far in the rearview mirror. And I know he's trying to reestablish himself, similar to the way Cam's trying to reestablish himself, but the Patriots defense just isn't good. Let's hear from Bill Belichick on the team's pass defense without Stephon Gilmore on the field.
Defensively, we didn't play well in the passing game, and just wasn't one of our better performances. We had some good plays where we had those routes covered, and then we obviously had some where we didn't. And just from an overall consistency standpoint, we got to defend the passing game a little bit better than we did tonight. But
Punxsutawney Bill emerged a little bit more from his hole.
He popped out a little more.
He's a master at defense, and you could put 11 guys that you just see at Four Seasons Total Landscaping in Philadelphia on the field, and
that's a good one.
They'll at least eventually figure out what to do with those guys. But that's Belichick. But still, 27 points given up to the Jets. It kind of tells you that if this team is going to get to 500 at some point before they run out of chances to get there, the offense is going to be the reason, not the defense.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Hey, the offense showed a little life last night, at least. I mean, that's the one thing you can look at. Hey, Flacco, I was with you. Kind of what you said a minute ago. I kind of was going, man, Flacco, he needs to kind of play good tonight if he wants to even be a backup next year in his career, he needed to play well. So that was good for him. You know, he didn't just stand there all night. Got out of the pocket, made some throws on the run. That's life in the 2020 NFL. You got to be able to do that. But, hey, with Denzel Mims and Perryman and Crowder, first time I think they said all year, right? All three were healthy. At least that's as good as I can remember. To where, all right, that's respectable. They might be able to create a little offense now with those three weapons. And Flacco did some really good things. But, man, I mean, it's 27-20. The Patriots are within a touchdown. First play, you just drop back and throw a post into double coverage. Just drop back and throw it. Interception. Oh, guess what? Cam Newton goes down and scores a touchdown. 27-27. Then to get 8 yards on first down in the subsequent drive, and it's 2nd and 2, and to take a sack there, I mean, that was just unbelievable. And then, of course, the incompletion, the play after that, to give the Patriots the ball back immediately. You know, those are things with Joe Flacco where you just go, come on, man, you played too much football to throw that interception, to take that sack in that moment there, and ultimately what gave New England life to win the game.
Quick Flacco observation.
Yeah.
He is one of the rare former franchise quarterbacks, because he was the highest paid quarterback in league history from 2013 until I think Aaron Rodgers caught him, and then he passed Aaron Rodgers again with his renegotiation after 3 seasons because the cap numbers were just ridiculous, and he even got more money than he was getting. He's one of the few that will continue to hang around and take a paycheck once he's no longer a starter. Usually the true franchise guys, if I'm not the guy, I'm not sticking around for this. I don't need to. I got the money. I got all the money. I'm rich as hell, as Todd Gurley would say. I'm out.
Right.
So the idea that it's kind of, I mean, hey, maybe he really loves football, or maybe he's just made some really bad investments. I doubt that that's it. But you don't see franchise quarterbacks hanging around and hanging around and hanging around for any scraps they can get, Chris.
No, you don't. And especially, you know, like you said, with all that money he's made, it's really rare. Like, really, like, Mike, seriously, who is it? Who has done that before? Like, now that you say it off the top of my head, I can't really think of, like, a true established franchise quarterback in one spot for a long time, made a lot of deep playoff runs, Super Bowl, whatever. You're right, Mike. I can't.
Just imagine Brett Favre holding a clipboard.
Oh, I
Dan
cannot.
Marino
Yeah.
holding a clipboard.
No.
Now, Flacco was never quite, but the guy's a former Super Bowl MVP.
I know.
So maybe one of the reasons we don't think of him that way is here he is holding a clipboard.
Right.
So
it doesn't
I think
help
a lot of that ego and that mentality, you know, Randall Cunningham is one of the few great quarterbacks, and I don't know that he had moments where he was clearly a franchise quarterback, but it wasn't sustained. He collected that $4 million per year or whatever the going rate was at the time as long as he could. Well, what the hell? Why not do it?
Well,
All I'm
yeah.
doing is standing here. You
Right.
know? But he never had that gigantic over the top. You know, Mike Vick is one of the ones who
but he had
hung
life
around
issues
as long as he
too.
could.
Right.
Yeah.
He had life issues and money issues too. I think to where he had a
Right, he did.
Right. For those efforts. That's where it's weird. Joe's a good guy. He's very humble. He does not have an ego. And he's probably like, what the hell else am I going to do with my life for 5 months a year? Why don't I just go, to practice and throw the football, watch football a little bit? And I think that's really about as much as he chalks it up to.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.